Welcome to the next episode of the 1828 Project. I'm your host, Brandon Ward, and I am happy to be here with you this morning. The purpose of this podcast is to shed light on those from different areas creating Black history in their own way. And I have an amazing guest today. Today's guest is creating Black history in Las Vegas. His name is going to be Jarron Gray. Jarron is the current board chair for the Urban Chamber of Commerce and is leading the efforts to support and grow small business and diverse businesses in Las Vegas. With over 16 years of experience in the SBA and banking industry, Jarron is an expert in all phases of SBA and small business lending, as he has passion for helping small business owners achieve their goals. Let's dive in and learn more about Jarron's story and his vision for creating Black history in Las Vegas. Welcome, Jarron
What's
Gray.
good? What's good? How you doing, big brother? Man, I'm so humble. He said creating Black history. I feel like I'm just getting started on my own path and my own journey. I'm just glad to be here with you on this platform. Share a little bit, not just my story, but the story of the Urban Chamber and what we're seeking to accomplish here in the community.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, I think it's amazing, and I think that's what's so more amazing about it is that we just getting started. Like I truly believe that's where we are, man. And it's a very humbling position to be in, right? And like I say, it's very humbling to know you, brother, because just the little time that I've known about you, everything that I've heard about you, every interaction that we've had, it has been all positive. It's been progressive. I know you're a man who says you're gonna do something and you do it. I know you've had this vision. I see you creating this vision. So it's amazing just to be a part of it, to be able to help you to be able to create it. But I think that people need to know about the great things that you're doing. So, man, I humbly, have you on a platform so that you present yourself and what you be doing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I always tell people this is what happens when you're intentional about what succession planning and building a pipeline of future leaders looks like. There's a lot of people that have poured into me. We can go into that later on as we dive into some questions. But there's so many people that have poured into me. I look at it at this point like it was time. It's time for me to step up. It's time for me to step into my own, and it's time for me to start leading this charge and a mission that I've cared so much about over my career and my lifetime. And we'll dive into a little more. I don't want to jump ahead too much, spill too much of the sauce.
No, that's good because it
Yeah.
honestly goes right into this next question. Who is Jarron? Right? I mean, I gave the introduction about who you are, but who are you to you? To you, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm born and raised here in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm the product of two military parents. I grew up in a single parent household. Unfortunately, my father wasn't around, but it took a village. When they say it took a village to raise Jarron Gray and to get me to this seat today. Went to UNLV. Like I said, my banking career has spanned over 16, goodness gracious, almost 17 years now. Actually had a brief stint in entrepreneurship myself, full time. I still do it part time. I own a couple of companies and things I dabble in, but definitely have had that entrepreneurship experience. And one of the things I realized when I dived out and dived back in was understanding how important it was for me to be on this side of the table. Business owners needed me to be on this side of the table, having these conversations with them, talking about access to capital, funding sources, capitalization, all these different things that most business owners don't even think about because they're so good at saying, I build widgets. I'm just going to go out and build widgets. They don't always come back to now I'm a business owner. And what does that really mean? And how do I think like an entrepreneur? Or how do I think like a business owner? What does that really mean in everyday life? But yeah, just a little bit of my story. That's where I kind of come from, why I'm passionate about the work that we're doing right now.
Man, I love it because as a business coach, I often come into situations where the business owner or the leader, they're passionate about the product, they're passionate about the service that they do, and then they just don't know how to compete. They don't know how to completely run a business, but also they don't understand the resources that are out there. And I know that since the pandemic has happened, it's been an abundance of resources. I mean, if you sign up for people's newsletters, you see so many opportunities for you to not just learn, but for you to be put into an incubator where people are willing to pour into you. And that's what I think that we're headed with the chamber. The chamber is going to provide that for small business owners. And they definitely need to not just know about it, but we got to push them to take advantage of those resources.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw our weight around a little bit and talk about the chamber just because we've been doing it for a long time. A long time. We have over 30-year history in this community providing technical assistance. And providing the technical assistance aspect is the hardest part. That's the programming, that's the resources, that's the advocacy work. That's the hard part of being a chamber. It's good to show up, it's good to throw galas, it's good to throw parties, it's good to throw mixers. But where are you really impacting businesses to get them to the next level, get them to that point where they can compete on that level, compete with the large corporates and things of that nature? And that's the work that we do at the Urban Chamber on a day-to-day basis. And we've been doing it for a long, long time. And like I said, I'm glad to say that I've been a part of that story, and I'm glad to see where we're heading as we start to talk about our global accelerator. We now, as an enterprise, having the Business Success Center, our foundation under the Hannah Brown CDC, and then eventually getting the pact off the ground as well. These are all plans that we have, but this is all about how do we continue to impact our local, diverse, and small business community, and especially the communities of where we live and work, right? We're talking about historic West Side. We're talking about the 89106, 89030, and how do we really impact the businesses in this area? Because this is where we hold our offices and where we want to do have a great impact as well.
Man, to have somebody out there fighting for you, not just one person, but a team, an organization, to be a part of a membership. I think people don't understand the value of it, the advocacy portion that goes into it, the seeds that's planted, sitting at the table, hearing things well before they come in. So, it's been amazing. And I know you've been on the board at the chamber for a while. So you've been at this seat, you've seen this. And then not just that, you've had the opportunity to be under some great succession planning. So you're definitely ready for the position and the way you're about to carry. So, man, I commend you. So before we get into the deep stuff, let's tell the people something that they don't know about you.
Ooh,
You can even give them a fun fact. We'll go to fun fact at that.
We'll go fun fact. So I come from a millennial generation. Most people may not know because usually I'm dressed like this, but I have quite a few tattoos, and I'm big into the tattoo culture. And most people don't know that, so I give them that as a fun fact. Maybe one day I'll tell you how many I actually have. But most people don't know that about me because I'm usually showing up to events like this.
I got you. How was that maneuvering trying to get through corporate world? Always trying to hide your tattoos. It used to be frowned upon at one time. It's a little accepted now.
It's more accepted in certain circles, but I'll tell you, this is kind of funny. I had my last tattoos I got. I told the dude, don't go below a certain point on my arm, and the dude just started freestyling. And next thing you know, it was too low. So now I can't wear short sleeves in the summertime if I'm meeting with certain people. I always try to say, like, I love you. One of my peoples that I just got acquainted with is Caleb Dawkins over at JP Morgan Chase. And he always says, I try to meet people where they're at. So it's like, it's still cool because I can go to a construction site and maybe dress down. But then there's times when I got to be in the boardroom with some high level executives, and it might be time to put the long sleeves on. So it's just all about maneuvering and making sure we're meeting people where they're at.
Listen, I love it because as we going into this new world, which we in it now, man, and I, to have somebody diverse, to have somebody that look like you, to have somebody that know the stories, that know where you come from, is so powerful. To have people in those seats at the table is so impactful, and man, that's why I say it's important for people like you to be there. And before I even get into it, let's get into these comments real quick. My man Kelsey West is in the house. Kelsey said, "Good afternoon." Shout out to Kelsey. Kelsey, say something about Kelsey real quick.
Oh man, that brother is something else, man. I'm so happy for the journey that he's on and the evolution of him building his platform as well. The brother's been traveling. One of the great impacts is the work he's doing with the HSBCUs. Man, and taking these kids on these tours, like, and the brother's all over the place, man. And the reason and I want to mention this as well. He's also one of our board members for the Urban Chamber. And once again, one of those things where we're intentional about the impact we understand that the Black church community has on our small businesses. It's important to have people like him involved in those conversations. So I'm so happy for him and happy for what he's doing. And I'm happy he's a part of our story and where we're headed.
Crazy. I just got off the phone with Kelsey. He was like, man, we got to put this, because I got him coming on the show as well. And he was like, man, hit me with the time. Just let me know the time. You know how we work.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, send me to your secretary. Let her fill out this form. But he didn't already filled the form out. Amazing. Just be saying, you love a podcast. Love a podcast. He over there in YouTube world, because we live on YouTube as well. Just be saying he got to wear gloves because he got plenty of tattoos. Just be as tatted up, brother.
Yeah.
He's definitely tatted
I'm self-conscious about my little bit. I saw the hand tat though.
All right, let's go into these questions. So can you tell us a little bit more about your role with the Urban Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah, absolutely. So my role as the board chair of the Urban Chamber of Commerce is to serve as basically I'm heading up the advocacy efforts and the membership efforts of the chamber, and doing it from a strategic standpoint and understanding that we have goals, we have strategies, we have a vision, we know who we are, and making sure that gets communicated out to the board and then also gets communicated to our staff, which I'm so happy. We just recently brought on our new president, Mr. Cameron C.H. Miller, and have him in that role, because he and I's roles are to ensure that, one, I communicate what that strategy is, which it's already been established. And we'll go into this, the work that Shondell Newsom did for us and Ken Evans to give us a strategy, give us a set of goals that really made sense. And now at this point, our new evolution is just to make those goals more finite. Right, to really drill down on what does it mean to be the premier advocacy chamber in the community? What does it mean to have the greatest marketing plan in place for our chamber? What does that really mean? So these are the kind of things that we're working on now as we go into this new evolution. Now here I am, a little over 30 days into the role. And going into some of what does that really look like? And what I've told everybody, because I had an opportunity to be in an interim role as the interim chair for a year. And the whole time I was in my interim position, I told everybody, this is not about recreating the wheel. Just because Jarron Gray is now the chair doesn't mean the chamber is going to be a whole new chamber. We are going to continue to be who we are as a chamber, continue to do the advocacy efforts, continue to provide the technical assistance, and we're going to continue to expand our role and our reach so that our members have access to more opportunities. That's what it's all about. They get more access to opportunities than we're doing our job as a chamber.
Yes. And I love it, because I love that you touched on the marketing portion of it, because as we rebrand ourselves and we create this new culture, because it is a culture shift. And then, like you said, we're not creating a wheel because the foundation has been perfectly set. But I think as we go with this culture shift, I think if we start to have more small businesses, start to have, a lot more confidence within the small businesses. I think that definitely we're going to grow. And it's so many areas here, because Vegas is getting a bunch of businesses coming from California. You get a bunch of businesses that's coming from Arizona, from all over the place, and they need somewhere to call home.
And I love what you said. I'm going to jump in real quick. I know we got a question, but just when you talk about a culture shift, right? So when you talk about culture, now even us as a chamber are going through this evolution of trying to evolve. What does culture look like for the chamber? Because we always tell people, if we as a chamber can't run the chamber as a good business, how can we advocate and teach others to run their business like a good business? Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we're realizing is that, man, culture is so important when it comes to staffing. You as a business owner, what are you trying to build, not just as a culture within the organization, but what is the external culture that you want people to see? There's so many different aspects to that, but it really impacts the business so much. And even when you have goals and you have a strategy and you have a vision, there's these soft skills that you have to build. And some of those are things like building a culture. That's a soft skill that's very hard to capture and build within an organization. But we as a chamber are really being intentional about that as we go into the first quarter. Because second quarter we got no runway. We got things to get done. I told everybody, if you've heard me say it, we're gonna get stuff done. I say the GP way. But we gotta get stuff done. We getting t-shirts say GSD for the rest of the year because that's what we're on.
I love it, man. I love it. That culture shift is everything. And I love what you said too. You have to be intentional about it. Like you have to be intentional. What does that look like? What does it feel like? And then what type of people need to be involved in order to create that and then carry that? Because that's what's important. You bring the wrong person into the culture, they shift it. I love this show. We already making progress, baby.
Yeah.
Meow Entertainment said, how can a company join the Urban Chamber of Commerce? How
Definitely
can they join the Urban Chamber of Commerce? Go ahead and talk about it, but I'm gonna have my man Just go onto the website, get the link, put it in the comment section so people can join. If you just go to the urbanchamber.org, and if you go in there, go ahead and put that link for join now into the comment section.
And Brandon's being modest, but Brandon is one of our leaders on our membership committee. So definitely you can hit up Brandon, but if you want the personal soft touch, but the website is available as well at urbanchamber.org. And please connect with our staff. Delisa Stewart is heading up our project management for us right now. You can also reach her at the office 702-648-6222. But please reach out to us. And we'll definitely get you connected and bring you into the family.
Yes. Shout out to Marquetta DeVille. She in the house. Hey,
Marquita.
Yeah. Shout out to her. Shout out to Greg. I don't know where, wherever she at, usually Greg is at. So, she's somewhere nearby. All right. Let's talk more a little bit about the chamber. And you touched on this, so we get to elaborate on this. Tell us more about the Urban Chamber of Commerce's mission.
Right. So our mission, of course, we have the mottos is to be the premier business advocate. But what does that really mean, right? And in essence and in a nutshell, it's to increase the opportunities that we bring to our small business owners. Now, the good thing about being a small chamber is we're boots on the ground, right? So when you go to a Vegas chamber, not to knock them at all, but Vegas chamber is the big boy, right? They're not going to always provide the technical assistance, like how do I write a business plan? How do I read my financials? How do I get connected with SCORE or SBDC? They're not going to always provide those services. That's where we as a small chamber come in and we provide all those services. We'll connect you with the right people. And how often is it that you have such ease of access to someone like myself in a leadership role? I'm not hard to get a hold of. You can hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever, and I'll definitely get in touch with you. We'll have a conversation. And by having a relationship with me, you've expanded your reach already right there, right? So we have the connection with our state legislators, our local officials, these different folks that are in positions of power to bring more opportunities to our business owners. And that's the end of it, right? When you're talking about being the premier business advocate, what does that look like? It looks like expanding and growing our businesses. And we always talk about this model, right? Where we want our businesses to grow organically. It's nice. We love having the single member businesses. We love them to be members. We love them to come into the fold. But we would love for them to get to the point where they see the vision and see the path to gainfully employing a different people for their businesses as well. So you go from a one-member business to now you've got 4 employees, 5 employees, 6 employees. And what does that impact really look like on our economics as a community? And what does that really look like as the economics for your business? By you being able to understand how that both goes together, that's the beauty of it, man. That's the beauty. To have that organic growth, and it benefits the chamber as you grow as a business. Hopefully, you'll increase your sponsorship dollars. Buy more tables, sponsor more programming, and that's the intention, right? So, but we have to be intentional about that again, right? So we have to make sure we're delivering a product that people want to buy, people want to purchase. And right now, I feel like we got the best product in town. I'm going to say it right now. We got the best product in town. If you're not a member of the chamber and you're listening to this podcast right now, I don't know what you're waiting on. I don't know what you're waiting on.
Yeah, that's right. And definitely, like he said, I'm not going to be too modest. Connect with me.
Yeah,
definitely connect with me. I definitely give you all the information you need. Plus, I probably got a special package that I can put together for you, so you just connect with me,
Yes,
man. All right,
absolutely.
Jarron, man, and I love it because being part of the chamber, I've seen it. I've seen it just grow. I've seen it transition. I remember when I first joined the chamber, they had an event at Aliente and it was passing the torch. So I remember it was the vision of Shondell Newsom. And then right after that event happened, it was COVID-19. They shut everything down.
Yeah,
So we went
yeah,
through the transition, everything went online. We had events online,
yeah,
we did education online, everything changed up. And I know the chamber constantly kept things going, kept programming going, kept creating opportunities for my business to grow and align to where it's even gotten to where it is right now. And
mm,
I honestly have to give majority of that credit to the chamber. It it creates the programming, but yes, as a small business owner, you have to take advantage of those opportunities and not just take
yes,
advantage of those opportunities. You got to find where you can involve yourself and where you can volunteer, and then you can see the opportunities, right? It's kind of like
yes.
getting to the table, and the chamber has created that availability and opportunity for me. So I just commended the chamber for just that alone. And I'm at my beginning
Oh,
stages, right? But I'm starting at a great place.
I'm so glad you said that, man, because that's really what it's about, right? That's the next evolution of membership. When you come in as a member, yes, you're going to get certain member benefits, you're going to get certain access, but there's nothing like having a platform to speak to other business owners, to exchange business, to network, like actually serving on a committee, helping with programming, serving on a board. Like there's nothing like that impact, right, for your business. It's just undescribable to have that platform all the time. And then, like you said, with the whole time we were dealing with the pandemic, we in some respects we may still not. I don't want to be the official word on that, but at the same time, those years 2020, 2021, the chamber never slowed down. We
Right.
were one of the first ones on the hill when it came to PPP lending. I know I sat in many meetings myself with Senator Cortez Masto and Congressman Horsford and so many others, and at the time Joe Amato, and just saying, "Hey, we need help." You like I'm screaming for the businesses, like they need help. This process sucks. This process is not good. You don't know what you did. You don't know what you signed, and I was holding them accountable because somebody had to. And we as a chamber sat there and said, we're going to hold you accountable because our business owners need to make it through this time period that they were forced into. They didn't have a choice about. So you need to make sure you figure out how to make sure they get the help they need. And we advocated hard. And I'm glad to say the results of that were so impactful. I'm so glad to hear the stories of so many business owners that got through that period and now are thriving and having such great success. And I know we've heard many talks about a possible impactful recession coming up and things of that nature. I keep saying impactful, but the recession, is coming up and things of that nature. But I don't know. I'm hearing so many good things. I'm hearing so many stories. And if anyone remembers what happened during the last huge recession in 2008, 2009, the amount of wealth creation that happened during that time, do you want to miss the boat? I hope not. And I hope you get on this ride with the chamber because we're poised for that success. We're poised to make sure our business owners are in the right seats at the right table, getting access to those opportunities so that this can be another turn of wealth creation in our community and for our small and diverse businesses.
Yes, sir. That goes right into the next question. Can you share with us some initiatives or programs that the Urban Chamber of Commerce is working on to support small and diverse businesses here in Vegas?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we've been privy to some inside conversations, like you said earlier. We're glad to have those opportunities to have the seat at the table. One of which is a big regional effort that's going to be coming up with MBDA or Minority Business Development Association. Those that might be in the know, they recently hired a permanent position for that association, which is the undersecretary. We had an opportunity to meet with him and him come to town. There'll be some funds that are available through MBDA that are coming up pretty quickly. But what we understand is going to be a long-term effort to bring more federal dollars to the state of Nevada. And those that are also in the know on this, Nevada is one of the least federally funded states in the union, which is something if I can be a part of how we change that, we definitely want to be a part of that. In the conversations we've had with our Congressman Horsford and some other folks around that initiative, we feel we're on a good inroads to change that over the next couple of years and kind of turn that, as they say, it's hard to turn the ship, but we're making some inroads where we can turn the ship a little bit faster. So that's a big initiative. Another one is now, for those of you also that may not have heard, we own our building now. So the building we own on Stella Lake, 1951, we own the building, and controlling that asset is a huge benefit, not just for us, but the businesses that call that space an incubator. And now the evolution of the incubator is to really get to the next step, which is the global accelerator. And what does a global accelerator mean, right? A global accelerator is really creating pathways to the evolution of entrepreneurship. So you start off from day one, I'm writing a business plan, I got a good idea, I'm going to put it on paper, and I'm going to go out and get the doors open. From that standpoint to now here I am 10, 15 years down the road, I may be thinking about succession planning or selling my business. How do you get from that one evolution to the other? And the incubator and the global accelerator guides you through that path. So it's connecting you to resources, access to capital, different advocacy efforts, whether it's we got to get a assemblyman or a state senator on our side and write a bill. What does that evolution look like? That's what will be housed within the global accelerator. And then also having those natural collisions that just occur on a daily basis, right? Sometimes you go to a coffee shop, you say, okay, oh man, I'm over at Makers and Founders or something, right? And I was getting coffee and I ran into Brandon. Oh, Brandon, I got an idea for you, brother. Let's talk about this. I want those natural collisions to happen within the incubator space. I want you to be sitting there and saying, I'm working on my business and I'm working on how do I get to this next step? Shoot, such is down the hall. Let me go down here and talk to him. Such is in the conference room. Let me talk to him. Those natural collisions that just happen and create business, we need that to happen more intentionally. I'm going to use that word again. And that's something that we can create within a global accelerator. So that's another big initiative. And part of that is bringing in funds so we can do a beautification project to the building, enhance the appearance of it, enhance the services, make it a more viable product to offer to our members and to even non-members that want to call this space a space an incubator to help and grow their business and expand so they can go out into the world and pay more market rents and things of that nature. And then, of course, the programming, the ongoing programming, there's just so many things we're doing, right? We're going to continue those things, right? Delise is heading that up, and she's done a great job in the past few years of continuing that work as we move into the new year, as we start talking about things like capital connections, contract connections, and then our regular programming, Coffee and Commerce, along with Direct Connect. We'll be revamping some of the things we do at Direct Connect to once again be more intentional about what happens in these events, because I never like people leaving an event without a takeaway. And if we don't hold an event with some kind of purpose and a takeaway, there's no point in us doing it. So that's how we're going to continue to be intentional about some of the additional programming we do as well.
Oh boy. I mean, how could you not want to be a part of that? Like, how could you not want to be a part of that? Like there's value in membership. Like there really is. At the last Coffee and Commerce, I got two clients. Absolutely. Like not just that. And I mean, it's more relationships that I've built. I think I even made a connection with Grand Canyon University, and they fly me out there to go and tour their facility. And it's just so much opportunity that's out there. Honestly, people just got to get in the room, get involved. But the way you stay informed is becoming a member, because even when you're not thinking about it, the information is pushed to you, whether it be a newsletter, whether it be another member that's involved, or just being connected. And then not just that, everybody is a business owner, so you have access to their network. And then when you're able to really get involved and start to create that relationship with that person, so it's a win-win for your business. It's not even a fee, it's an investment, because in the $450 that it costs for you to get a membership, you're going to get that and some for a lifetime. And I know that my business alone, it will continue to grow because of the membership. And we haven't even taken advantage of everything. There's things that we've done with programming. There's some programming I've had to pass on because I didn't feel like the business was ready at the time. There was some education that I feel like I needed to gather before I took my business to the next level. And I didn't have to go too far. I just went within my membership to get those resources.
Absolutely.
My man
Absolutely.
Alaric said, very nice. I have to get on that. And I think he was referencing that incubator. Yeah, that
Yes.
incubator. You got to take advantage of that. Can you explain to them just briefly what an incubator is? So people that
Yeah.
who don't understand what an incubator is, and I know you explained it, but I wanted more simple for some people who never ever experienced
Oh,
that
yeah.
before.
Yeah, so an incubator, the purpose of an incubator is to provide a space where a business needs to go out and maybe lease space, go into that space at a below market rent price that allows their business to either start or grow and expand so that they have time to have that ramp up period to where they can get to the point where they can go out to maybe a larger space, maybe even a nicer space, however that looks, or maybe just a different market, and move on to another space. But the incubator is not for you to be there lifetime. It's an incubator. We're going to house you. And at the same time, we're going to put services around you to ensure that your businesses don't fail. If as much as we can help it, we're going to put resources and things around you to make sure that your business is successful. That all happens within an incubator space. And the incubator just sounds, it is just like it sounds, just like you think the baby chicken eggs, right? And they put the heat on them just to kind of warm them up so that they can hatch. That's what we want you to do. We want to put a little heat on you. You know, we're gonna make you a little healthy. Like I love that. I love it. Yep. It was already on the same path, right? But right, you're gonna put a little heat on them, so they can get ready to hatch and grow. And as you become a full-fledged chicken, we're gonna send you out to the world, man. You're no longer in the coop.
I
But
love
but
it.
that's kind of the intention of it.
And what I love is the data that the incubator has the ability to collect. When there's a problem,
Yes.
then there's a problem that people can only see in the from our level, boots on the ground. It takes a while usually for that information to get up to the top. But being
Mm-hmm.
part of an incubator, they can address those things right away, especially those trends.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely, especially those trends. Let's see. This a good question for you. So, got any examples of some success stories through the chamber?
Absolutely, but it's many. I'm glad to say there's many, but I'll give you a perfect one. So prior to COVID, I want to say this is 2020, no, probably 2019. We were hosting our Capital Connection series, doing the Ducks in a Row series, and I happened to be teaching one of those classes. I think it was on banking services. I wasn't even talking lending. I was just talking general. How do you find a banker? How do you get connected with the banker? Had a good audience. Had some folks in the room. Young lady decided to show up to the meeting just on a whim. She said somebody sent her the link. She said, I'm going to go and show up because I'm having trouble finding a banker. Come to find out that she was actually in the process of getting an SBA loan. She got stuck in the middle of the process. The deal wasn't moving forward. The connection she and I made, I was able to actually help her successfully secure her SBA loan, to be able to buy a building, grow her business, and things of this nature. But it all grew out of someone sending her the link to show up at a Capital Connections program, and what happened just for her to get to where she is today. And I'm proud to say, out of the many businesses that didn't continue to make their loan payments through the last couple of years, she pays without missing a beat. And I only say that to mention that because I stay in touch with her. I stay in touch with the bankers that are taking care of her now. I've since moved on from that institution. But just to proudly say that I brought someone in an industry that's not well liked. I don't want to give out too much information, but in an industry that's not well liked by some banks, and she's doing very well. She's thriving. But there's many success stories that we have of that nature. I guess I'll give one more because I love telling these stories, man. I love telling stories. But another great story, right? We talk about the work that Shondell has done and the roots he's planted, right? And one of the things he always said to me, and we've always been in agreement about, is we want our businesses to be ready when the opportunities come around. When the opportunities present themselves, be ready. And one of our favorite stories is talking about Danette Bro and talking about Bro's funnel cakes and just the success she's had just by being ready. So when these opportunities presented themselves, and I remember, and I don't know if she remembers it, but I remember vividly her sitting in programs like Capital Connections, sitting in Ducks in a Row series, as we're talking about writing your business plan. Matter of fact, the same night I spoke to the other lady about banking service, she was in that event, getting more information about getting banking services. And to see where she is today in the evolution of her business, oh man, it's just the success. It just brightens my day, man. Those are the kind of stories I really love to talk about, because that's what it shows to get plugged in, to take advantage of the resources and what that can look like for your business.
Man, I love it. And shout out to those businesses. I've been able to do some work with them as well. That's
Mm-hmm.
part of being membership, right?
Yes.
Being able to be a
Yes.
part of membership and being involved and just hearing where people have not just where their successes are, but also where some of their challenges are as well. And then helping each other overcome those challenges, because you got some people who are some newcomers into the
Mm-hmm.
industry, new entrepreneurs, startup businesses. You got some experienced business, what we call them, emerging businesses as well.
Emerging. Yes.
And to have all of those people in one room is just it creates a culture. And you got some new school with some old school, and then
Yeah.
you learn how to use new technology with old principles. And then when you're able to mix those two, it just makes you so much more powerful. I know that a lot
Yeah.
of people have a problem, and one of the biggest issues with small businesses is getting funding, and
Yeah.
not just getting funding, but also getting grants or whatever it may be. So with you being on here and you having, experience in the banking industry, can you tell us a little bit about your background, and then not how you really got involved? It's more
Mm-hmm.
about what can you tell people regarding banking to help them out within their small businesses, any opportunities that's out there, anything that you can share.
Yeah, absolutely. So banking, man, banking is a odd space, and I'll be honest. At times, the industry has disappointed me, even as a banker, because me having an altruistic heart and always having a mission in my mindset of wanting to garner further business in the industry, it's been hard because I know I've even been bootstrapped by not being able to help certain businesses with access to capital. But that being said, when you talk about the industry as a whole, right, there's different things that you want to do as a business owner to ensure that your business gets the access to capital that it needs. And the first thing I'm going to say, I'm going to put the onus on any business owner and say, be ready. Like I said, have your business plan together, have your financials together, understand your financials. What does your P&L say? What is your P&L really telling? What story is it telling to the banker? Understand your balance sheet, understand what that really means, understand your business structure, versus an LLC versus an S Corp or a C Corp. I'm a sole prop, whatever that looks like. Understand that so that when you go into the conversation with any lender, you are not always behind the eight ball because you don't even understand your own business. We as bankers or we as lenders know enough to be dangerous in the conversation of understanding these different aspects, but nobody's going to be able to tell your business story as best as you. No one. So you've got to start out by being your own best advocate. Secondly, shop your banker. Shop your banker. Not all bankers are created equal. Not all of them have the same information for one reason or another. And not all of them have the same access to resources. So you may say one's got better technology that fits in with the way I do business, or one's got more knowledge than I have that fits in the way I do business. So shop your banker, just like you shop your car insurance. You're going to shop rates on different things. Shop your bankers and go out and interview them. Make sure that they have the capabilities that you're looking for. And then at the end of the day, it's just really looking at and exploring alternative resources. So banking is not always the end all be all. I personally work at a CDFI. I work for a company called Lendustry. We're a certified development financial institution. Also, Nick Steele is also a CDFI with Access Capital. So there's different resources that people can explore other than say I'm going just to the bank. Because one thing that I've learned in my banking career, I have never been the one-stop shop for any client. I've never been able to supply all the services any client needs. I understand I'm always going to get a piece of the relationship, but not all bankers understand that, and they're greedy, and they'll say, okay, I'm going to just try to capture everything, even though I know I can't deliver the best product to them. But you as a business owner have to understand, what does your business really need? How can I manage this process? And then make sure that you're protecting yourself as you go through this process of working with different banks. And of course, and I always tell people, access to capital and lending is not the only part of the financial institution that you're looking at. You're going to need merchant services. You're going to need to get credit card payments. How are you receiving payments from clients? How are you paying people? How are you managing the dollars in your account? Are you going through online banking? Are you one of those people that actually has to go to the bank because you need cash? It's like, what do you really need out of a banking and financial institution? That's why I say there's not going to be many instances where there's one institution that supplies everything you need, but understand what you need so that when you go to them, you have a direct ask, and then you know what your expectation is. It makes it so much better for you, and then it doesn't put so much onus on the actual banker to try to figure those things out. Because the more emphasis you put on the banker, they're going to miss a beat. It's just inevitable, because we'll never know your business and your industry as well as you do. We know enough to be dangerous and enough to kind of fumble through it. In a sense, there's some industries we learn better about. But anyway, that being said, nobody's going to be able to tell your story like you do.
A lot of people, they don't understand how important a business plan is, and when it comes to banking, how important is that aspect of it? And it being accurate, it being a plan that looks smart, and it being a real plan.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always tell people there's a couple of things we look at as bankers from a business plan, right? So one thing I always tell people, now you're going to have a business plan that you run your business from on a day-to-day, quarterly basis, and it's going to be 20, 25, maybe 30-page document. That's not what I want to see as a banker. I want to see your 5-page, what I call a stack sheet or a presentation sample that really just gets to the point. This is who we are. This is what we're trying to accomplish. This is how we're going to make money, because I need to know how you're going to repay my loan. And then I also need to understand, how am I going to make sure I'm the best in the industry, right? So you could, and it's basic, right? Go through a simple SWOT analysis. A simple SWOT analysis will answer many of those questions. Be clear about your mission and your vision. Be clear about that. Understand who you are and who you are in the marketplace. What problem are you trying to solve? Because most businesses that are the most successful are solving some problem. So figure out what that is and be clear about it so you can communicate it to me without me having to go through your 20-page business plan that you run your business from. Now, what I would say is make sure to do both. Make sure to have both available, because your business plan should be, I liken it to the Bible, right? Most people read their Bible. They read their Bible every day. It's a living, breathing document they pull out, and they're looking at it on a day-to-day basis. Things are going to change. Things are going to evolve. That stack sheet may not change as much, because your mission and vision and who you are and the problem you're solving is not necessarily going to change, but how you get to the end result may change. So that's what I always tell people, is you have your business plan and then you have your stack sheet. I want your stack sheet, and I want you to be clear about it. I can provide enough guidance to help, but be clear about those certain points. And of course, I don't want to steal too much of the Chamber's thunder, because this is why you become a member. We do this in ducks in a row, and we really go into an in-depth analysis of what categories need to be added into your business plan, and then how to prepare your stack sheet, so you have that presentation available for when you go and present to banks. But that's just it in a nutshell. It's like the importance of having a business plan is just, it's undefinable, right? You can't really say how important it is, because when you don't have it, the impact of not having it is so great. But when you do, the impact of having it is so great. So it's like you got to make sure you have it, because the flip side of not having it is just you falter, and you have no reason, you have nowhere to go back to and say, where did I fall off at?
Yeah, I love it. That was a great answer, man. So when people don't have a business plan in order, where you send them?
So of course we connect them with SCORE, SBDC. And what I always tell people is SCORE is good for when you're just starting out. I have a good idea. I need somebody to help me take my ideas out of my mind and put them on paper. SCORE is going to give you a mentor. They're going to give you someone that's going to talk to you about that process, give you some templates that might help. The other side of that is going to SBDC. And I always say it's kind of an evolution, right? Once you go to SBDC, you're going to get assigned a dedicated counselor. That counselor is going to go from, now you have your business plan together. Now here's how do you communicate your business plan to other people. And they will also help with getting the stack sheet together for you to go out seeking sources of capital. And they'll also talk to you about things like angel investing, different sources of capital, equity investors, things of that nature that you may not even thought about, because not everybody is set up for traditional bank financing.
Yeah, man. That
yeah.
Who else should I ask? Like, this is the guy. This is the guy. This is the guy right
Oh
here.
man, but it's a passion, right? It's a passion. I mean, I wouldn't do the work I do for the chamber if I wasn't passionate about it.
Yeah.
And you know, the flip side of that, and I'll be transparent, is like people don't always understand. Like we do this work because we care. Because I got a family of my own. I got a wife, and I got businesses. I got a job shoot. But I do this work because I really care. I really want our businesses to be successful. We as a chamber have a huge mission to carry out. And under my leadership and under my tutelage, if I can just be impactful enough to carry that out, I'm good. And my big thing, I told this to my board in our first board meeting of the year, and they kind of laughed. I said, "Shoot, I was thinking about my succession plan on day one." I said, how can I be as intentional as we were about me? How can we replicate that process and say, hey, we're not going to leave a void, we're going to leave a hole just because Jarron left the chamber for one reason or another, and being intentional about what that succession plan looks like. And I know I said that on day one, and I'm serious about it. I want to make sure that I did the same thing that Shondell Newsom did for me, that Jerry Merritt did for me, the Hannah Browns, and some of these other folks. I want to make sure I did the same thing for someone else.
Yeah, I know you was getting ready now. I say, hold up, don't name him yet. We got a spot.
Oh,
I got a spot
okay.
for that. I do want. So I was just on a webinar recently. It was Sports Connections, and
Okay.
it showed the partnership between the Urban Chamber of Commerce and the Raiders organization. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as some may know, the Raiders have come into town and just gotten so ingrained in the community. The things that Mark Davis is doing, as far as who he hired as the new president, and Sandra Douglas Morgan, having her come as the new president, their head of government affairs is Piper Overstreet, having these people in place. And then getting connected with the chamber, because we already had connections with these people locally, but now to have them in leadership roles with the Raiders, oh man, it's given so many opportunities to our community. I'm proud to say we do have one chamber member that has a business in the stadium itself, which is a whole nother animal itself, because you're talking about the governance of the stadium versus the team itself. But there's still opportunities with the team of the Raiders, but now we're talking about Levy and what Levy does. But Battleborn Burgers has a stand in the stadium, and what that evolution has looked like. But that's all come through us once again being intentional about how do we get in the right seats and at the right tables to make sure that we present these opportunities. So Ken, in his role, he was able to sit on oh shoot, now I'm having a brain fart, but he was sitting on the committee to ensure that they had equity in the services that were divvied out amongst the stadium and then this team itself. So having him in that seat was very influential for us to get people like Battleborn Burgers into the stadium. And now having Sandra there has made them want to be impactful with the chamber, because now they're already talking to us about, and I'm going to give you some insight, but here some little inside information, but they're already talking to us about how can we grow our business initiatives? How can we work with the chamber to talk more about how do we bring more vendors into events that are Raiders designated? And the good thing that I wanted people to understand when we held the Sports Connect event on February 3rd, I'm so glad you were able to be on that call. But the big thing that we wanted to convey is get people to understand that working with any sports network is a beast. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about the Raiders having them in town, that's separate from the NFL. That's separate from the Pro Bowl. That's separate from the Super Bowl. There's so many different things that are going to happen within that facility that are not necessarily just dictated by the Raiders, but are related to this whole sports industry. And one of the things we got coming online too is really building out this Sports Connect platform and talking about, the next big event we're having it right after or right before the Super Bowl will be Formula One. And there's still opportunities to get involved with Formula One. We're at the table with these folks talking about how do we get these opportunities in place. NASCAR still presents a big opportunity for our members. There's so many different things now, but really creating an intentional coalition around this initiative is what we wanted to do with Sports Connect. And that event on February 3rd was just the beginning. But having the Raiders here and kind of having the Raiders set the tone has been very important for how we kind of roll this thing out. I'm glad to say we have quite a few members that are serving on committees with the Super Bowl, including Shondell Newsom, Joe Cato, Maisha Boyce. We've got quite a few people that are serving in important roles to ensure that they advocate for us, creating that equity and opportunities as well.
Man, win-win. I keep telling people, win-win. Mm-hmm. Not much. You ain't got to make the payment all up front. You can pay $45 a month. You know, you win.
Yeah,
and even
absolutely.
For corporate sponsorships, you know, we shout out the Raiders, but Raiders are a corporate member of the chamber.
Yes.
So they deserve recognition. And especially when they're really getting involved with membership and they're getting involved with the community, they deserve recognition. But everybody business deserves recognition. And when you're part of a chamber, they're going to, we're going to make sure that you get the recognition that you deserve more than anything. So let's get into you personally. Because, I mean, obviously you are a leader. I mean, they put you as a chair. When did you see yourself as a leader? And I'm going to say a community leader. And do you see yourself as a community leader?
I do. And I'll say this. So I knew very young, as a young man, when I was, probably 16, 17 years old, that because I was so stubborn and so hard-headed, I had to be in leadership roles. I tell people to this day, I'm a terrible employee. I'm only good at my job because they give me some entrepreneurial aspects to my role, but I'm a terrible employee because I'm always thinking about how do we become innovative? How do we change this? How do we improve that? How do we solve this puzzle? It led a lot into, I got my undergrad in economics, and I always tell people it was really about how does one thing relate to another? So if you say, okay, if I disturb the oil markets in the Middle East, how does that impact the rest of the world? That was a lot of the problems that economics tried to look at, right? And looking at it from an experiential kind of way, because you can't go into the market and say, I'm going to divvy this up and see how it works. But from that being said, being a leader is really about how do you create that innovation and do it in a way where you create followership. So that's kind of how I've looked at it, because I always said, okay, what made me want to follow in the footsteps of a Shondell Newsom? What made me want to follow in the footsteps of a Jerry Merritt? And I thought about it, and I said, they were so innovative. They were so thought-provoking. They were so ahead of their time. And so I would say, okay, in my leadership role, what can I do to be innovative like that? What can I do to garner that same followership? But at the same time, say, I'm willing to go sweep the floor right with you. I'm willing to sit here and go right along the path with you so that we can have that success. But I want you at some point to out surpass me, outdo what I'm doing, and get to that point. So for me, being a leader has been an interesting path, but I always knew I wanted to be in leadership roles. And I'll tell this story too, a quick anecdote. One of my great mentors and coaches was Tyrone Thompson, the late Assemblyman Tyrone Thompson. And I remember, so I was the chair of the leadership program with the Vegas Chamber. And I was sitting at a gala with him, and he's sitting there nudging me because we're here and listening to Shondell speak. And he's nudging me at the table saying, when you going to be the chair? When you going to be the chair? And I was like, I'm not. And I like what you said. Yeah, I like what you said. At that time, I wasn't ready. I know I wasn't ready. I didn't know enough. I wasn't prepared. And it wasn't just from an experience standpoint. It was more of I hadn't in my spirituality and the way I kind of look at things, I wasn't ready spiritually to take on that role. I knew I was still too selfish. I was still worried about myself too much. Okay. And in a leadership role, you have no opportunity to be selfish. Right. You have no opportunity to come in, every day. You can't wake up and say, I'm thinking about what am I going to accomplish. At the end of the day, but at the same time, I'm not dumb, right? I get it. There's going to be certain impacts and certain benefits to me serving in roles like this, but I'm not looking at it from that standpoint. But what I am saying is that because I'm in this role, I've got to do it because of the mission that I want to carry out more so than I wanted to just be in a leadership role. And I'm so glad the way it played out because my board voted me in. I didn't come to the board and say, just make me the chair. I came to them and said, yes, I have a desire to be the chair of the board. and they voted on it, and they said we believe in you, and we have confidence that you'll do well in the role. And that's what we're doing now is we're just creating that garnering that family attitude that everybody's bought into the mission. Everybody understands the mission. That's what I'm focused on right now is like everybody's buying into that. And I used this word before, but creating coalitions, right? The more I can create coalitions around an initiative, and when you look at the term coalition, it's having belief and faith in something, right? So you can't create a coalition without belief and faith. So that's what I want. I want more coalitions built around initiatives where we can start tearing down these economic walls. And if I could do that just because I'm sitting in this seat, bro, I did my job. I left a happy man.
That's right, man.
Yeah.
You're definitely a leader. Definitely. And I definitely truly believe that you are creating Black history in Las Vegas. So give me a little bit about your vision on creating Black history in Las Vegas. Because I know you diverse. I know you work with everybody. But, when it comes to our people and being intentional about our people, let's hear that answer.
Oh yeah. So my biggest concern is like I've always been a youth advocate. For some that know, I served in leadership roles with the 100 Black men of Las Vegas in my previous life. But in focusing on youth advocacy is how do we mentor students, mentor young people so that they can do what I did and get to where I got to, but then two, turn that into the coaching conversation. And I know I talked about this a little bit already, but that's been my big thing, right? Is going from the mentoring aspect to the coaching aspect. And the biggest thing that I learned working with our youth is exposure. So when we talk about creating Black history, it's exposure. They need to see people like me. And I know whenever somebody calls me, the LJ Edmondsons, the Lady AKs, whoever calls me and says, can you show up to this youth event and speak? If it's the Omega Sci-Fis or whoever, I'm going to show up and tell them my story. Because by me telling my story, it garners exposure, and then we can start that path to mentorship. And then you go from mentorship to now we're starting the coaching conversation. But if I could say anything about creating Black history, we have to expose our youth to more. They have to. It's a shame that we're still hearing so many kids saying that they just want to be an athlete. They want to be a basketball star, a football star. There's so many that, and the only reason they're saying that is because they're not exposed to a lot. So what do they see and what do they get to see on a regular basis? So we got to get them to understand that. No, it's not that you can't get there, but it's always good to have a plan B and a plan C. It's not hard. It's not wrong to have a plan B and a plan C. And we got to be realistic with our children about what does it look like to get to those pathways. You know, you started having those conversations about less than 1% of college students make it to the NFL or to professional sports at all. Right. And really having those conversations and talking about how do we get more Black bankers? How do we get young bankers that look like me? How do we get more people in roles like yours that say they want to go into the path of entrepreneurship? How do we create and foster more of that is what I'm talking about when I talk about creating Black history. Is the exposure piece, and just we got to create more pipelines and be intentional about it. And I love some of what the organizations here are doing locally. Like I said, I love what LJ is doing with Master Mindsets. My brother Sean Torrey, some of the work he's doing with the men's room and bringing brothers together to really talk about how do we focus on the youth, how do we get into these programs. My brother Antonis Pullum. There's just so many people. Right? I can't even name them all, but
they all gonna be on the show. So y'all don't know them. Y'all can watch them.
So, but it's so many people that are involved in this conversation. That's what I would say. We just need to do more of this intentionality of it and creating these pipelines of the exposure piece.
Yeah, you got to disrupt the system, definitely. And you can do it in a very tactical, strategic way. And like I said, I love what you said. Start with the youth. You know, I'm passionate about the youth. You know, I'm big on self-identity from the go. You know, so once you know who you are, you know exactly what direction you need to be going in. My man Edmundo said, let's get this into the streets. Love your love your youth. Love your youth. Definitely, man. You gotta love your youth. That's what it start with. And a lot of these kids, man, you know, when I talk to them, they do sometimes they feel left behind. And all we gotta do is you know, you just gotta find a way to disrupt the pattern, disrupt the system,
and that's what it is, man.
Influential.
That's a hard piece, man. You go into some of these alternative schools, and go and speak with some of these folks, man. It's hard to hear these kids' stories. But the crazy thing is, my story was very similar, and it was like, how did I get out? And I know there was a lot of things that played out for me to get into the role I am today. But I know if I could do it, and I could get on a pathway to some sort of success, or what I can call success, I know we can do it for these kids as well. They don't have to go down that trajectory of being a statistic. We can change that, but we just have to be intentional about it. It can't be by accident. And I think about my own youth and how I grew up, and it was very intentional about how I got to this point. So hopefully we could do the same for our youth. And I know I'm going to do my part as much as I can.
Yes, sir. What year did you graduate?
2005.
Wait, what school?
Clark High School.
All right, 05,
Yeah.
Clark. Shout out to those who went to Clark. So you at a time, it's like, you definitely, I know you feel it, right? It's the trajectory. You see 35s, 38s, 33s, where we no longer young, and we do start looking at ourselves as leaders. And that transition, that looking at yourself as a leader, comes with confidence, exposure, all those things.
Right.
So when we talk about, creating Black history, I want to see if you can give some people some inspired words to step into their role in leadership, not where they got to copy off everybody else, but, their role, because everybody is a leader in their own way. So what can you comment on that?
Yeah, it's kind of funny you say that, because I think about my likeness to Shondell, right? And you meet Shondell, and Shondell is a walking advertisement, right? He got the orange on. He looked like something new all the time, right? But I'm the more laid back, conservative type. And everybody says, like, okay, what does a leader look like? And everybody thinks they've got to be the dynamic speaker that gets up there and kills the crowd, and I do this and I do that. But that's not what leadership looks like to everyone, right? For me, leadership always looked like how could I impact an individual? Yeah. If I imparted a nugget on one individual, I did my work. If I left you with something that you was inspired about, and I always do it through transparency. I always tell people I'm probably one of the most transparent people you'll meet. If we have a one-on-one conversation, it's not much I'm not going to talk to you about. Whether it's my marriage, whether it's my kids, my job, my career path, there isn't much I won't talk to any one person about in a one-on-one situation. So I've tried to do it just by being what I would want out of someone else, right? I want somebody to be transparent with me. I want somebody to want to impart something on me, so I do it for them. And that's what I hope to get out of any leadership role that I serve in. So if you're thinking about leadership roles, or you're thinking about going into leadership, don't think you have to be what people say is the forms of leadership. But what I would say is be confident, know who you are as a leader. That's the biggest thing, is right. So as a leader, you got to kind of peel back that onion. And we talked about this. You go through the personality test, right? You do the DISC assessments and things of that nature, right? Am I a high O? Am I a U, or whatever? So those of you that might be privy to that. But when you go through that, what it does is it doesn't tell you how to be a leader. You're already a leader when you took the test. What it tells you is what kind of leader are you? Right. But you've got to get an understanding of, okay, this is where I am in my comfort space as a leader, because we know that term, being in the grip. And once you're in the grip, you flip flop, right? So if you're like me, I'm a quiet guy, I'm yelling. And if I'm yelling, I know I'm in the grip. So it's like understanding what that means and what that looks like to be a leader is probably the most important point. Is knowing what kind of leader you are, who you're a leader of, and then also understanding who do you work best with. So I know even in my role, there's certain people I don't work well with. People that are too high, type A's, and they're loud and they don't listen well. I don't work well with them. But what what I can do? I can say, okay, Brandon, you work well with this guy. I'm gonna have you work with him. Yeah. I'm gonna convey my message through you, and you work with them. Yeah. So I know how to work the system in a sense to make it work, so we get the end result we're looking for. And I don't always have to be the one in direct control. And that's a hard thing too about being a leader, right? It's not being a control freak. You can't control everything. There's going to be things that are out of your control as a leader. But the biggest part, just knowing who you are as a leader, being confident about, who you are, and really, like I said, growing and continue to grow as a leader. Don't think once you got to that level, that's it. I continue to read books. I continue to read on leadership. I continue to get mentored. I continue to get coached. So it's like that's a continual process for me. And I always tell my friends back in the day, I always tell people I was always progressing. I was like, I never wanted to be stagnant. I was always progressing and moving forward. So that was always, I've been saying that since I was 16 years old. And I was like, I'm always progressing. I can't keep my feet. They always say I can't keep my feet. The grass don't grow on my feet at all because I'm always moving.
That's right.
But that's why I say, like, man, the best thing about being in these leadership roles is having that opportunity to understand what kind of leader I am and working with people.
Yeah, man. You go to conferences?
All the time, man. All the time. I go to leadership conferences. I go to self-development conferences all the time.
Why is it important?
It's
Go ahead.
an investment. Yeah, it's an investment. Like I said, you just can't be stagnant. You can't think that where you got to one point in life that was the end all be all. It can't be. And you know, I hate to say this, but there are generations where you look at generational studies and they talk about there's some people that got stuck in their generation. They weren't able to progress. They weren't able to elevate. And you can see that in their life path, right? But we as people nowadays, there's too much information available to us. We can't sit on that information and not do anything with it. So like I said, like, you know, and I'd say be open to all forms of education if you can. I always tell people, you know, don't limit yourself to one source of communication because there's so many different things you can gain, even when it's negative. There's so much you can glean from different sources of education.
Yes, man. I love it. I think that's kind of, you've had this consistent trend of education, being in your purpose, understanding your identity. I want to go, you know, I could say we circle back 360. You said it. I couldn't step into this role until I knew I was ready. I had to know who I was. I had to know, you know, what I was capable of. And although I may know I have the skills to do it, I may not have the mindset to do it at this time.
Right.
And I think that's very important because I think it's something that we have to look at because sometimes we may take on too much too fast and we set up ourselves for failure. And then it may be times where this is the only opportunity. We must take advantage of it and we must call upon our tribe to help us through it, right? I don't need to learn it off. I got some people who already been through it, and that's what we have. We have a network of people that we can call upon that's been in these seats before. I only got a couple more questions for you, brother. I know you gave me a whole hour. I didn't even expect for you to give me this. I thank you, appreciate you. We're gonna go to this question. Give me some community members who deserve acknowledgement.
Oh man, I already said a lot. I said a lot, but I'm gonna say a few and give a little backstory. So Jerry Merritt has been my mentor for a long time. I won't say how long because you might get mad. But I've known Jerry Merritt for a long time, right? But I'll say this about Jerry. Jerry gave me my first job in banking. When I was wanting to go into a different career path, and I was in school, I was in college, trying to go through the college pathway and get my education, get my degree. I didn't really know what I was doing in college. I was one of those people that changed my major several times. I was just floundering around. And Jerry said when I was 18, she said, go get you some cash handling experience, and I'm gonna make sure you can get a job at the bank. Not knowing what that would turn into 17 years later, but I started as a teller for her, helped her open a branch. She quickly got me into a management training program. That's how I got into the lending side. So when people hear my story about, geez, you're only 35, how you been in banking that long? Because people like Jerry Merritt, who understood what it meant to have me in that seat and make sure that I got exposed to all this knowledge. And I went on a rotation with what I call now the dinosaurs of banking. And these guys were people with 30, 40 years experience. And I was glad just to sit with them on a weekly, monthly basis and just glean this information from them, right? But that was because of the intentional work that Jerry did. And Jerry making sure that she put me on a path to create a career for myself, create a way to take care of myself, and be in a position to sit here today and do what I do. I don't even think she knew I'd be sitting here as the chair of the chamber, but right. I know she's smiling every time she gets to see me because of how intentional she was. The other person I talk about, Shondell Newsom.
Yeah, before you even go to Shondell,
I'm
gonna tell you real quick. So with Jerry,
yeah,
I came to you one day. I was like, you told me who your mentor was. We sat down, we had breakfast at Grits. Shout out to Trina Giles and Grits. Appreciate it. But we were talking. You said, yeah, that's my mentor. And she walked in. I hugged her. And, you know, it was a warm embrace, right? But then I'm like, even when I'm on my path and on my journey, you really don't realize where you are until you look around you and you see who in the room with you. So one day, like I told you, I walked in the room and I got there early because, I'm not even supposed to be in this meeting. Well, I got invited to the meeting, but let me get there early. And as everybody walking in, you start seeing McCarty walk in, you see Jerry Garrett walk in, you see Irene Bustamante walk in, and you're like, oh my, like, there's some sharks up here. Like, how did I get in this room? But Jerry is one of those people, and I definitely want to have her on the show. So I need you to, go ahead and send out the bat.
Absolutely.
Let her know, come on the show, because I think she's been instrumental not just in your life, but many people's lives. Her name constantly comes up. And now you said Shondell Newsom, so go ahead.
Yeah. So Shondell, and I'm gonna out him because that brother messed with me all the time. I've known him since I was 16 years old. So once again, going to Clark High School, I was a part of the Academy of Finance. We were assigned mentors, and the funny thing is, Shondell wasn't my direct mentor, but the thing that was always hit me so hard with him, he never missed an opportunity to pull me to the side and throw some nuggets at me. And he wasn't even my assigned mentor, but we would have like mentor breakfasts. And I don't even know if he remembers all this, but I remember this. I remember vividly. We would have these mentor breakfasts in the library at Clark High School. And he would always make sure I was at the table with him and Jerry, or he was pulling me to the side, asking me what I wanted to do, what are my aspirations, pushing me into things like I ended up competing in DECA and FBLA because of some of the conversations that he and I had. And just saying, okay, how can I build my resume more when I want to go to college, and things of that nature. But yeah, Shondell, man, when I say the conversations this brother and I have had have been just phenomenal. Like I couldn't even tell you. I know I probably get on his kids' nerves because I repeat him so much. I use that relationships, right? We're building relationships in the community. And, there's times when I feel like I'm talking like him. But it's just the number of conversations we had. And the funny thing is, once we got to this point where I became the interim chair and was working on moving into the chair role, it was funny how many times we would call each other and he would say something and I had already done it, or vice versa. And we were so lockstep with each other. And it got to the point where it was like, Jarron, I don't even run the chamber anymore. This is your show. And this was like 6 months or whatever before I officially took over. But he was just saying it in a funny tone. But it was just funny how so much we were in lockstep with one another because of that, right? I definitely got to give a shout out to Hannah Brown. Hannah Brown's one of our founding members of the chamber. And I'll tell a funny story about Hannah as well. So when I was so people don't know this, I was actually an intern at the chamber for a brief period. So I worked at the chamber for about 3 or 4 months as I was finishing my degree, working on trying to get my big boy job, finishing college and things of that nature. But Hannah came into the office one day. She said, "Who are you? What do you want to do?" And she said, and I said, "I'm Jarron, and I want to." And at the time, I wanted to go to law school. And she said, "You want to go to law school?" She said, "What's your grades look like?" I told her my grades look like. She said, "Okay." At the time, it was Dean White. He's now serving in a different role. But anyway, she said, "We're going to get a meeting with Dean White." Mind you, on a whim, calls the dean, gets me a meeting with the dean of the law school at Boyd Law School. Just walks in his office, gives him the mama talk. "This is Jarron. You're going to help him out getting to law school, right?" We had this conversation. We're walking around the UNLV campus. She says, "Jarron, you still got time?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "We're going to go to the provost's office. We're going to walk in the provost's office." I said, "Okay." So we go to the provost's office. We walk in, and I'm just like, these are the kinds of impact, right, that I've had that got me to the point. Unfortunately, I didn't go to law school, didn't go down that pathway, but just to know that I had that resource, just because I was tied in with the chamber and I was tied in with the Jerry Merritts and the Shondell Newsoms. It was just amazing to have someone just say, "Jarron, I'm gonna take you to the dean's office, and then we're gonna go to the provost's office and see what we could do for you." And I had the meeting and did my start, but it was just funny how those things happen, right? But there's so many other people I could name. I love the conversations I've had with Sean Torrey. That brother's coming into his own, man. He's doing great things. My brother Atara Sabula, man, I love the conversations he and I have. Danisha Mingo, and I know I'm naming my board here, but the conversations we have have just been crazy. Yes. Mr. Dr. Lawrence Weekly, man, just the conversations he and I have been able to have. And every time I talk to that brother, the first thing he says, "I'm so proud of you."
That's right.
He said, "I'm so proud of you." Another brother that's been a mentor of mine, Sean Smith. And Sean always tells me, Jarron, just say thank you. It's so hard for me to just say thank you. But these brothers, they come to me, they say, Jarron, I'm so proud of you. And it's hard for me to just say thank you because I'm not trying to be humble, but I never did this work because I wanted the thank yous. I did this work because I wanted to help people. And I didn't care if you said thank you to me or not. I kind of likened it to a marriage, right? If you go into a marriage and you're doing things expecting some kind of result out of, you did it for the wrong reason. You got to do it because you know the work is important. It's important, to do that work and build that relationship. So I look at it the same way when I work with my business owners. Like whether they say thank you or not, it's important for me to do this work. Yeah. But yeah, just talking about some of these community leaders, I know the first thing I always say to me is just, Jarron, I'm so proud. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't say thank you yet. At some point I'll be better at accepting my flowers, but it's hard for me right now.
Yeah, you got to make it a goal. You got to make it a goal in the beginning of the year. Like this year, I'm going to accept acknowledgement. I know that people have been telling me, like, you got to start selling yourself. I think you tell me all the time, man, you got to be confident, bro. You got to tell people what you do. You got to let them know, man.
Yeah.
And, man, you're right. I'm honored because, I can pretty much say I have a connection as well. So Shondell has been instrumental to my life so far. And it's grown into a very unique relationship, like something I never thought that it would grow into. And it grew from the chamber.
Yes. Once again,
That's
right?
where it started, from the chamber. Yeah. All right, brother. So I know we got a few events we got coming up. I definitely want to shed light on those. I know you mentioned them. I do want to ask you this question. So although you are a leader and you can help others, there are also people who can help you. So how can the community help and support you, whether they at ground level, starting from the bottom, or whether they at the top? Where do you need assistance? Like, what will help you take your career to another trajectory?
So I'm gonna start off with the Ken Evans. Join us, right? Join us, become a member. That's always a big step, right? But the other part is that we need more success stories, right? I love being able to tell success stories in our community. And I've been telling a few people over the last couple of weeks, man, I'm going to have to get me like a travel bus or something and just put some people on a road show. And we're going to show up to the city of Las Vegas. We're going to show up to the county commissioner's office. We're going to start showing up and just telling people about why do you need to invest in our Black business community? Why do you need to have investments in there? Why do you need to create initiatives to help support it? And it's those success stories that help. So if anything, please get connected with us. Join the chamber, get connected, get into the fold. Like you said, I started at the committee level, got on the board. And then now here we are today as me as the board chair. And the impact on not just my career, but the impact I've been able to have in the community has been awesome. Like the exposure, right? Just having me in the right room at the right time with the right people has put me in touch with people like yourself and say, hey, I just want to sit down and have a conversation with you. I don't care what I get out of it. Right. I just want to make sure that we have this conversation and we'll see where it goes. Yeah. And I'm proud to say that you've been a big benefit to the chamber. The work that you're doing, even on your own and building your own brand, it still benefits the chamber. Yes, and I want people to understand that there's always a platform and an opportunity for you to do what you do and still support the chamber. Yep. There's no reason you can't do both. And there shouldn't be a reason why there's a differentiation, because once again, I kind of liken it to a marriage. Like, how often do you have a conversation you don't mention your spouse? So how many times are you going to have a conversation about your business and not mention the urban chamber? Right. And in this one conversation we've had today, I know it's been featured around the chamber, but how often have we skipped a beat or had a whole sentence without saying the urban chamber? No. There hasn't been many. So there's a lot of times where when I say support me, there's an opportunity to do both, grow your business and support the chamber. And it shouldn't be looked at one or the other. It's a dual thing. And the more success stories I can get, the better my chamber is going to be, the better we're going to be as a business community. And like I said, selfishly, I'm going to keep taking people like you and pairing you up with the right folks, man, and making sure we get this information out. We get people connected and do it in a way that fosters good business. And I'm always a big believer, businesses do business with other businesses. Yes, business owners like doing business with other business owners. Yes, before they'll sell to an individual client, they would rather do business with another business owner. Why not continue to have those natural collisions, those natural opportunities for that to happen by getting connected with the chamber? Join us. And I know you talked about some events. I don't know, we want to go into that or?
Yeah, we're going to go. And I want to say before we go into that, and exactly what you said, this is what it looks like. We've had many conversations. I've been able to pretty much survey the land. I see what's missing. You don't just jump into it. You bring it up, you say something. But one thing I did was during our conversation, it was real big on capturing stories. I remember you told me that we need to hear more stories. We need to hear more on how the chamber has impacted you. Now, I said, you know what? I'm going to create a platform where people can share their stories, where you don't got to go and, you don't got to go into all these rooms. If we create a platform where people are able to share their stories, it's on rotation. And then not only can we use it, but then that business can use it as well. And I just think it's good for you to be able to highlight businesses and how they've grown. And then, not just that, you hold them accountable. You on here and you say, I'm going to grow. Well, I'm going to pull you back on in a month, another quarter, maybe at the end of the year to see how has it been beneficial for you, or where you had some challenges that need to be addressed. So, man, that's what it is. All ties back to you saying what you needed help with. And it's like, all right, how can I be a solution to that issue? All right, how do I bring value to the chamber? And then you see it, man. I'm like, well, he saw it. I already got to say it. But it's easier to show more than tell. A lot of people come in and tell you what they can do. I can do this. I've been here. I've done that. I say, let me show you what I can do. And I feel like that's the approach that everybody should have, right? Even if you had an accolades, no matter where you're from, you can be a superstar. But when you go into a new environment, you gotta show yourself, But all right, that's enough of that. Coffee and Commerce.
Yeah, Coffee and Commerce is coming up next week. This is an odd month because we got the short month. So it's actually next Wednesday. It'll be Wednesday at 9 a.m. We'll be at the Smith Center. We got another one of our board members that will be speaking that day. Mr. Robert Twix Taylor will be on the docket. I forget our other guests, but we'll be over at the Smith Center. That's from 9 to 10:30. There's still time to register. Please get registered. That's going to be a big event. I'm so happy to have the Smith Center as a host. They've hosted us before, and it was a great event the last time we were there. So that'll be a nice one for us.
All right. We got any other events, specific events?
No specific events, but I do want to make a quick announcement.
State of the Chamber.
State of the Chamber. State of the Chamber was scheduled for this month. We have done some rescheduling. So as I kind of mentioned earlier, we brought in our new president, Mr. Cameron C.H. Miller. In his role, he does serve in the assembly. So he will not be back until the summer. We didn't think it was right to hold the State of the Chamber event without him being involved. And also, this will give us an opportunity to be in alignment with some of our partners' fiscal year. And take advantage of that as well. So that event will be held in the summer. Please stay tuned with us. We'll be having a date that comes out soon for that State of the Chamber event. But in the meantime, we will be doing our board induction. We have several new coming on board. So just be aware of
that. I love it. I love where we headed. We got another show. I know about this show, but I want to hear what you know about the show. Commerce First Radio.
Oh, yeah. Our illustrious host is here today, right? So Commerce First Radio Show, the first and the third Monday of the month. The third Monday is hosted by our own Mr. Brandon Ward. He does a great job with the show, talking about business advocacy, some of the work the chamber is doing, and quite frankly, some of the good work he's doing in the community to foster those business connections and business growth and business expansion as well. Some great guests that we've had on as of late. I've been enjoying what you've been doing with the show, brother, the evolution of that. So definitely Commerce First Radio Show, tune in. And then the first Thursday is Kathleen and Marcel. The first Monday of the month with Kathleen and Marcel. And that show is actually sponsored by MV Energy. I would be remiss by not mentioning them. Angel has been a great partner with us. Our other board member, Vernon Taylor, has been a great partner in ensuring that partnership continues. And we're able to fund that show as well.
Yes, sir, man. Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate you, brother. I think you brought amazing energy. I think you spoke very well. Very great representation. of not just Las Vegas, but of us as a people. I truly believe that you are a leader and you are creating Black history every day. And I think you're creating a platform that helps others create their history as well. So I commend you, man. You're definitely somebody who we need to really wrap our arms around and make sure we protect you. Make sure that we hear anything bad about you. We speak up on it, but we need and you truly are a staple, and that's what we need. I think we just need more leadership in our community, and we need to acknowledge the leaders that are here that are honestly doing the work and they are getting the work done. So as whatever I can do to help you, I'm always going to be there for you. You always got a place on this platform. My platform is your platform, but it really is your platform. But let's just continue to connect, man, and let's continue to do this work and support those who need the support, man. You got any parting words you want to say?
No, man, just blessings, brother. Thank you again for having me on the show. I hopefully, once again, we accomplished what I always like to accomplish, that someone got some takeaways, and we leave them with that, man. Blessings.
All right, now I got one. It's my last section in every show like this, and I don't even know if you know the person. I just check and see if you do. So my next guest, he just let me know about his episode. It's actually going to be Clifford ATN, but this is not the flyer. You know Cliff?
I don't know him well. I know his name. I know he's running some circles. I saw him get the award at the NAACP Awards. We were there last year, but no, I don't know him.
All right, so that's one. I don't have his screen up. He didn't fill out his application, so I couldn't really.
Oh, okay. Okay.
What about this guy? Do you know this guy? I don't see him around the chamber too often. This is Mr. William Roundtree. You know him?
I do not.
What?
No.
All right. So this is where the magic happens in community and connection. So William Roundtree, his show is going to be spreading the power of financial literacy and wealth creation to the masses. So I really don't need to say too much about him. If you Google him, a bunch of stuff going to pop up. You go on YouTube, a bunch of stuff going to pop up. My man has created a platform helping people with their credit and finances. He's a featured speaker at the DeVille's. They have a wealth mindset conference. Matter of fact, I'm on that platform with him. He'll be speaking at it. But Will is almost world renowned, man. Will is an author. He got a long background. I asked him for his bio, but the bio was like a book. But I think he'd be a great resource for us to connect at the chamber. He definitely brings a different flavor, a different vibe. He's very influential, like a Twix Taylor. But the only thing is Will, like I said, Will has taken his message across the nation. He does these workshops in like Atlanta, and he go on tour. So he a big deal, and that's the purpose of the show, is to make sure that we really shed light on our talent that's here. And he definitely is a diamond, and we're gonna take advantage of his connection as well. So I appreciate you, brother, man. I thank you. So much love for you. That was something that Shondell told me to make sure that I do more often, is tell my brothers that I love them. So I love you, brother. Like I told you,
I love you, brother.
I'm definitely gonna be there whenever you need me, man.
Yes.
Let's keep building, bro. We got this.
Yes, absolutely, man. I thank you again.
All right.
All right, but y'all be good,
man. Y'all be on the next show. We're looking forward to seeing y'all.